The one true crime here is the one thing that everyone missed about this story, including the filmmakers. Alien Romulus thinks it's telling an epic tale of heroism, when in reality this story is, in the literary sense, a tragedy. In fact, the values that define this happy brother-sister saga are, well, they're morally abhorrent. We'll cover the story they think they told, the story they actually told, and the story they should have told. And we'll answer the one question everyone is asking about Disney running this franchise. Here's the brutal truth about Alien Romulus. The Walt Disney Company picked up the Alien franchise when they swallowed up Fox, and now they're babysitting one of the most terrifying monsters in movie history. And while Disney's Star Wars lies in laughable and regrettable ruin, the Disney Plus series Alien Earth is already on the horizon, which raises the big question we'll answer today. Is Romulus the first step in Disney ruining yet another classic cinematic franchise? It's our deep dive into Disney's Alien Romulus. And this is Everything is Mid. Romulus kicks off with the original alien xenomorph, apparently known in fan circles as the Big Chap, being salvaged from the Nostromo wreck. A bold choice. Should we be horrified that they dared to touch the holy relic of sci-fi horror, or intrigued that they're tying the story directly into the mothership? Honestly, both. It's not a terrible idea. After all, knowing how important the xenomorph is to the company, it's not unreasonable they'd try to save their investment with a salvage operation. Now, the likelihood of actually finding their investment floating through the vast vacuums of space? Pretty slim. I mean, maybe the odds spike if the alien were hot pink, but as it stands, I'm pressing X for doubt. So is this a lazy contrivance, or a clever hook to get us rolling? For now, let's just suspend disbelief and see where it takes us.
You sure you want to do this?
Oh, I'm for it!
Enter Rain, our orphaned protagonist, clinging to her only family, a synthetic brother, salvaged from the junk heap by her dad long ago. The synth is awkward, but devoted, running on the one prime directive: keep Rain safe. This makes him very sympathetic to the audience, and cranks up Rain's emotional dependence on him, as well as pushes her to be a good sister. This bond does give us one anchor of emotion, but is it enough to carry the weight of this story once the aliens start bursting in? That's the thread we'll need to watch. Apparently, Rain is stuck on a mining colony as sort of an indentured servant of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. When the movie starts, she thinks today is the day that she's finally going to be free. But when she tries to book passage to a better life, she's told that there's a worker shortage, and her commitment has been arbitrarily extended for like another 5 years.
Gosh!
Is this a cliche? Sure. But is it also exactly the kind of crushing corporate cruelty we'd expect from this franchise? Absolutely. Not to mention, it's just the kind of misery she needs to motivate her into a shady heist scheme with her ex-boyfriend and a handful of fellow Les Miserables. Now, a common complaint I'm hearing about this movie is that these characters are paper thin, and yeah, I get it, and I agree. But when you think about the original Alien film, Ripley and her Nostromo gang weren't exactly plumbing the depths of Shakespearean layers. The difference? Their setting as the ship's crew gave us just enough context to buy into who they were and how they fit together. This new bunch? The script is making an effort, but it's all just very lacking. They feel more like random characters thrown together with just enough backstory to distinguish them before dispatching them.
Run.
As far as the heist, so they can make the trip to the nearest system, they're targeting cryo chambers in an abandoned Weyland-Yutani vessel in terminal orbit up above. A research station by the name of Romulus. Okay, technically, the name of the satellite is Renaissance. Maybe a reference to the new life Rain hopes to find. Maybe it's a nod to the franchise finding new life under Disney. Who knows? But the lab inside the satellite is named Romulus, so I'm just going with that. It's not a bad setup, right? But here's the curiosity. If the company shelled out galactic bucks to secure the Big Chap, why on Earth, or orbit, would they let the entire Romulus station drift unattended towards an asteroid belt? Aside from that, I do like this setup. I'm all for this ticking clock of the failing orbit, and along the way, the film does a masterful job at replicating the aesthetic of the original, in look and feel and soundtrack. But is this a brilliant new ticking clock? Or just a giant plot hole floating in space? Of course, the minute our heroes step aboard Romulus, the Alien franchise kicks in. Cue facehuggers, goo, frantic running through dimly lit hallways, and what started as a simple heist is now a fight for their scrappy little lives. Which, in and of itself, is not bad. In fact, there's a fun little scene with Quiet Place vibes, where they have to sneak quietly through a room filled with facehuggers. But here's the problem.
No one cares.
If we're not emotionally invested in who these people are, then why should we care if their faces get hugged? The subplot with Rain's synthetic brother ends up being the movie's actual through line, and the stakes do flicker when he gets a so-called upgrade that grants him deeper security access to the station, but also basically jailbreaks his loyalties. It's a solid twist. Predictable, but solid. And hey, Rain even lands a character arc. Spoilers, the shiny new system she's been gunning for turns out to have a strict no synthetics, no exceptions policy. Turns out she was planning to trade her brother for a better zip code. But somewhere along the way, her moral compass boots up, and she risks her neck to save him. Very noble. At least that's what the movie thinks is happening. Rain is having her big Ripley moment, refusing to abandon her broken brother on this alien-infested station. On paper, sure. It kinda tracks, but the savvy viewer will notice the story revealing a far darker truth about our hero. This is Rain's version of events. This is the real story. A failed hero's journey defined not by sacrifice, but by stubborn refusal to grow. It's the story that Alien Romulus actually told, but everyone missed, even the filmmakers. Stick around because we will unpack the story they actually told. But for now, the movie thinks its protagonist has been given a noble arc. Okay, fine. For the time being, let's run with that. But arcs only matter if the movie doesn't immediately sabotage itself with scenes that make zero sense. Case in point, the pregnant woman who willingly injects herself with alien goo. And you have to ask, why would anyone, anywhere, inject themselves with alien goo? Well, I guess obviously it would be okay if you really trusted the person giving it to you. You know, someone who you know only cares about your well-being, and doesn't have a reputation for being a billionaire megalomaniac obsessed with monopolizing entire industries when they're not openly musing that the planet would be better off with a few less people on it. You know, a sincerely altruistic saint. But not a sketchy reprogrammed synth loyal to his corporate overlords. Not like this.
Hey, I usually wouldn't even take aspirin while I'm pregnant, but...
She injects herself with alien goo. Why? Best guess? She's treating it like some kind of nightmare energy drink, hoping for the boost she needs to drag her broken body back to the escape ship. But here's the problem with that. That idea isn't earned in the moment. Imagine instead, we get a few cutaway shots. She's weakening, dragging herself down the hallway. A POV shot, vision blurring, footsteps faltering, alien death noises echoing from somewhere nearby. We're convinced she's not going to make it. And more importantly, she's convinced. And with no other option besides certain death, that's when the desperate act of injecting unknown alien supergoo makes sense. But the film doesn't take us there. The writer does the legwork to sketch little arcs for these characters, which is good, but the execution never digs deeper than simply hitting on the next plot point. No breathing room, no emotional weight, just sprinting from beat to beat to beat. And without that connective tissue, we never actually connect to the characters. And that's the big storytelling truth right there. You've got to put the care into characters. Without the care, all you've got left are actors. It's not just the sprinting and scrambling that wears you down. Take the ship's artificial gravity, for instance. At one point, it starts flickering on and off, sending the characters floating up and then slamming them back down. It's a really fun complication. The kind of thing that makes you lean forward thinking, oh, this is going to be huge when the aliens attack. I wonder how this is going to play out. Well, it does come back. But the payoff? An aggressively implausible zero-G drift and dodge through an ocean's worth of alien acid. I mean, 1 gallon of acid would have been too much. Honestly, 1 cup of acid drifting and breaking apart in midair could have made for an unforgettable action beat. But instead, the CGI overkill just drowns out the tension. And with it, any chance of the audience actually caring. Look, I think the bones of this story actually have a lot going for them. If they'd just been handled differently, this thing might have really clicked. But my biggest gripe with Alien Romulus, it isn't that the characters get a shallow pass, which is unfortunate. It's not even the movie's reflex to swap understatement for overkill, which, no, the one true crime here is the one thing that everyone missed about this story, including the filmmakers. Alien Romulus thinks it's telling an epic tale of heroism, when in reality this story is, in the literary sense, a tragedy. In fact, the values that define this happy brother-sister saga are, well, they're morally abhorrent. Here's the brutal truth about Alien Romulus. It's a tale of 2 tales. The first is the one the filmmakers think they're telling. A scrappy young woman, Rain, defying Weyland-Yutani's corporate grind to save her synthetic brother, Andy, and sees a new future. Sounds noble, right? Wrong. They snatch Ripley's surface-level badassery, paste it onto Rain, and call it a win. chanting "Family good" without ever asking why family matters. The result? A shallow echo of aliens that mistakes selfishness for heroism. The second tale, the one they're actually telling, is a tragedy that's flat out anti-human. It takes shape when Rain sends her pregnant friend Kay up to the escape ship so she can rescue Andy. The setup screams redemption. Rain, scarred by corporate oppression, once planned to ditch her brother Andy, a synthetic, a machine, because the new beginning she's chasing, a flicker of hope beyond Weyland-Yutani's clutches, doesn't allow synths. When Andy learns of her impending betrayal, the filmmakers frame her choice to go back for him as her "I won't leave you behind" moment. They think it's about family, loyalty, a sister's love, but it's not. It's about humanity, or its absence. Kay is a human being, wounded and pregnant, vulnerable, carrying the future of the species. Andy? A glorified chatbot programmed to fill the role of Rain's brother, choosing to prioritize the protection of a machine over a living woman and her unborn child isn't heroic, it's morally bankrupt. A delusion that trades human connection for synthetic mirage. Worse, it mirrors Kay's own fatal error. Just as Kay injects herself with Weyland-Yutani's alien goo, thinking it's her lifeline, Rain clings to Andy, her own corporate poison, believing he's her salvation. Neither woman is strong enough to stand on her own. Both lean on the company's crutches to prop up their fragile resolve. Contrast this with Ellen Ripley, the gold standard of alien heroism.
She comes back and she's been lost in space and her family is gone. No one believes her story. She's, in a sense, an outcast in the society. And it's the isolation of that and her memories that I think drive her back. I don't think she decides to go back to this planet to be heroic or for unselfish reasons. I think she basically goes because she needs something to keep her busy. And I don't think it's really till she meets this little girl on the planet that her desire to really live and that she's reignited.
Ripley's arc in Aliens is rooted in sacrifice and redemption. Having lost her daughter to time while she was adrift in space, Ripley carries a wound that heals only when she becomes a surrogate mother to Newt. This is why family matters. Protecting Newt isn't just about saving a child, it's an act of hope, nurturing humanity's next generation against the alien queen's dark motherhood of death. Ripley transforms her trauma into purpose, anchoring herself to the promise of tomorrow as the righteous mother of life. That's heroic. That's growth. That's independence. Rain, by contrast, never grows up. She mistakes clinging to a corporate doll for strength. Rain chains herself to yesterday. Her family is a synthetic crutch incapable of human reciprocity. Saving Andy isn't a sacrifice, it's a cop-out, like risking her life to save her iPhone. While Ripley embraces humanity's potential, Rain clings to a soulless stand-in, choosing stasis over catharsis. The filmmakers think that they're echoing Ripley's moment with Newt, but they've gutted its meaning, leaving a shell that celebrates enslavement to the company Rain claims to defy. The consequences? Devastating. While Rain plays hero to her emotional support Tamagotchi, Kay, abandoned and desperate, injects the alien goo that kills the baby and births a monstrous hybrid that then kills her. That horror exists because of Rain's selfish choice. Yet the movie frames Rain as a badass, slaying the creature that she unleashed. She's no hero. She's a walking disaster, letting 2 human souls perish to save 1 soulless machine. And here's the cruel irony. Rain doesn't escape. Ripley's victory in Aliens is a triumph of human spirit, reclaiming agency and hope. Rain's escape is a delusion. By choosing Andy, her Weyland-Yutani goo, she's not free. She's emotionally tethered to a machine, still under the company's thumb, staring into an AI mirror that reflects only her own loss. Alien Romulus doesn't just miss Ripley's heroism, it celebrates a betrayal of everything that Ripley stood for, and the filmmakers are too blind to see it. I find this to be a particularly damaging value, as we in reality sit on the precipice of the AI revolution, entering a world where human life and synthetic approximations will surely live side by side. In the brave new world of AI and virtual relationships, we need heroes who double down on human bonds, not ones fooled by corporate code cosplaying as humanity. All we get out of those are what we put into them. Our hopes and dreams reduced to data for the algorithm to analyze and strategize and weaponize, optimized to manipulate, not to love. Ditch the AI mirror, folks. Bet on the real stuff. And speaking of the real stuff, if you're enjoying this commentary, why don't you subscribe to the channel? Stick around. It's your opportunity to make a real human connection with the like button. So, the filmmakers think that Rain is a strong woman who asserts her independence because girl boss, when in reality, she won't let go of the past because she's afraid of facing the future on her own. Given the bones that they've given us, I'd shape Alien Romulus around Rain's journey of heartbreak, illusion, and awakening. Trapped in Weyland-Yutani's suffocating mining colony, she clings to two illusions of family: Andy, her synthetic brother, who represents the family she once had, and her ex-boyfriend, Tyler, her attempt to build a real future and a new family. But when her relationship with Tyler collapses, Rain is left isolated. Unable to get over the breakup, she leans even harder on Andy's programmed familiarity. Okay, the stage is set. The movie rolls along as is. Rain thinks she's finally leaving this hellhole behind. However, the company extends her obligation due to a worker shortage. Now her only shot at escape is a desperate high-stakes heist with her friends and, unfortunately, her ex. This complication forces her to confront both the dangers of the mission and the illusions she's been living in. To deepen the emotional stakes, in this version, Tyler is the father of Kay's unborn child. Kay becomes a living reminder of the life and love Rain couldn't have, intensifying her resentment, and making things all the more awkward on the mission. As the crew ventures into the station, a monument to Weyland-Yutani, the alien emerges. A living embodiment of not just the soul-devouring corporation consuming humans and sacrificing their futures to propagate its own, but as a shadow of Rain's insecurity, her fear of abandonment, her fear of being alone. When Andy's prime directive shifts, by override or salvaged chip or whatever, he's no longer a comforting sibling, but a machine enforcing the company's will. Rain is forced to confront the uncomfortable truth. Her dependence on him isn't just unhealthy, it's dangerous. And yet she still wouldn't be able to let go, still clinging to the synthetic echo of the family she longs to preserve. In the film screenplay, Bjorn isn't a character, he's a function. His one job is to tip Andy off that Rain plans to abandon him. Once he's done that, he just lingers until it's time to get killed. His hatred of synthetics? It's just a justification for him to betray Rain's secret. And his being the father of Kay's baby? Totally incidental. He could have been replaced by a nameless one-night stand, and it would change nothing about the story. And Kay herself? She only exists because the writers wanted someone pregnant, so the climax could feature the protagonist fighting a mutant alien goo baby monster, because, hey, that's what we do in these alien movies, right? That's not character-driven storytelling. That's prop-driven plotting. Kay was written as the pregnant girl, and then decorated with details after the fact to make her look like a person. But wait, you say, the pregnancy is incestuous. Doesn't that make it deep? No. Bjorn and Kay being cousins is less a theme and more of a shrug. Again, it adds nothing. If the movie wanted to explore unhealthy family relationships, maybe it could have used that incest subplot to reflect Rain's toxic dependency on Andy. But it doesn't, because the movie doesn't see Rain's relationship with Andy as unhealthy. So instead, the incest is just set dressing, a lurid garnish to trick us into thinking Bjorn and Kay are more than just plot devices. At the end of the day, Kay exists because the writers wanted a pregnant girl character. Bjorn exists because they needed a secret spiller and an extra kill for the xenomorph. Making them cousins was just a lazy attempt at flavor, a shortcut to false complexity. Okay, so all of that is, dare I say, mid.
See what you did there.
In my version, Bjorn isn't Kay's baby daddy in a bargain bin soap opera twist. He's an immature suitor chasing after Rain. And suddenly his hatred of synthetics isn't just background noise, it actually matters. Instead of just being a jerk to Andy and tattling on Rain's escape plan, Bjorn actively tries to replace Andy, offering his own messy but very human affection. He tells Rain she's wasting time clinging to a machine. She doesn't need a fake brother, she needs a real man. She needs Bjorn. His feelings, at least, are flesh and blood. Naturally, Rain bristles at the insult to Andy. He's the only family she has left. But when it comes to Bjorn's declarations of love, she laughs him off. He's just a kid blinded by puppy crushes. The tragic part? Rain can't see she's stuck in the same loop, still nursing her own hopeless fantasies about Tyler, who's clearly moved on. Bjorn becomes Rain's mirror, the embodiment of arrested development, of self-delusion dressed up as devotion. His arc culminates in a burst of raw selflessness, hurling himself at the alien, buying Rain precious few seconds to slam the door shut. As his bloody hand slides down the glass, he whispers his devotion with his last breath. Rain is gutted by the irony. His doomed, childish love is a reflection of her own. You can even see he's on his side of the glass, she's on hers. They look like the reflections. He puts his hand up, she puts her hand up on his. As his slides down and he goes out of frame, she slides her hand down in anguish. So his doomed, childish love is a reflection of her own. The difference is Rain still has a chance. Bjorn's sacrifice forces her to see the cost of clinging to dreams that can't survive in the real world. And in that brutal moment, she takes another step towards breaking free, towards finally letting go of Andy, of Tyler, of everything holding her back from becoming her own independent person. Okay, next, Kay gets separated from Tyler and Rain. Tyler, showing real loyalty and valor, insists on facing impossible odds against the aliens to save her. Rain pleads with him, pointing out it's suicide, but she also knows the awful truth. If Kay dies, the last barrier between her and Tyler disappears. For a flicker of a moment, she dares to imagine a happily ever after in the no-synth zone, just her and Tyler. The dream could be real. But no, Tyler kills that fantasy on the spot. He makes it clear there's no us, no version of their lives where he turns his back on Kay. If Rain truly loves him, Tyler says she'll help him save Kay. And this, my savvy viewers, is our protagonist's ultimate test. Step back into the security of illusion or embrace the burden of reality, venturing into danger to save Tyler's true love and his unborn child, a real family, even if it isn't hers. When Andy sees this hesitation, he realizes that Rain is seriously considering endangering herself. Would she truly allow her human feelings for Tyler to drive her back into the dangers of the alien den? If he's going to keep Rain safe, he needs to shut this down, and fast. Rain is hesitant as she tells Andy that Tyler is right, that they have to rescue Kay. And that's when Andy strikes, casually snapping Tyler's neck, convinced he's doing what's best for his sister. And now comes Rain's defining moment. It's all been building to this. With Tyler dead, both of her crutches, the fantasy of a future with Tyler and the false comfort of Andy, are shattered. Andy, precise and unyielding, moves to drag Rain towards the escape ship, offering her the safety of the way things were, a synthetic family, and a narcotic dream of the past. This is the easy path, the path of surrender. But it's no longer hers. Rain has changed. Rain fights back with raw, unfiltered emotion. Every punch, every shove, every desperate maneuver is charged with fear, grief, and fury. She's passionate, she's human, she's fighting not just for survival, but for the right to decide her own destiny. Andy, like Ash in the original Alien, is cold, calculating, methodical. Every move precise, every strike unfeeling. The parallel is clear. Just as Ripley had to confront Ash's merciless machinery, Rain must face the same sort of relentless, inhuman adversary. And in this case, it would be a franchise reference that's relevant. Each clash isn't just physical. It's a battle of the wills, of identity, of what it means to be alive. She rips free in a final, visceral act, cutting the cord, terminating both Andy and the fantasy. It's an awakening. She is her own person, free from the ghosts of her past and ready to face an uncertain future on her own terms, as she descends into the hive for the final confrontation, armed with courage, clarity, and the raw human spirit that Andy can never replicate. How it plays out from here doesn't really matter. Whether Kay takes the goo or not, the truth is clear. Rain has chosen the harder road. She's claimed the mantle of the hero, stepping out of illusion and into reality, fighting not just for herself, but for all humanity. In the end, Rain may be the last survivor of the crew, or she may tuck Kay gently into her pod, echoing Ripley's quiet promise to Newt. But either way, she greets the rising sun. The blaze across the horizon is both intimate and immense, searing away the ghosts of her past. No longer bound by illusions, Rain stands reborn, scarred, hopeful, and stepping into an uncertain future that is finally her own. So, what do you think? Do you like my version? Or do you prefer the one that the movie gave us? We got that comment section for a reason, you know. Tell you what, if you prefer my version, just click that thumbs up right now. If you don't like my version, give me a thumbs down. I can take it. Anyway, that's my version. Digging into Rain's journey, giving her real emotional depth, and grounding the stakes in her relationships and the world. As for the filmmakers, they thought it was more important to raid the franchise prop closet instead of trusting in its own story. So what is this, Alien Romulus or Alien's Greatest Hits? A busted up Ian Holmes Ash model synthetic? Check. The rifles from Aliens? Check. Service elevator showdown? Got it. Callbacks to Ripley going back to save Newt? Reskinned with a synthro? Check. Lines of dialogue lifted word for word, including the iconic "Stay away from her, you bitch." Check. Heroine sneaking into a spacesuit? Check. A final showdown with a monster that feels like it's ripped straight out of Prometheus? Check. And the classic. Unfortunately, check. Yes, Romulus, we see you flexing your fan service muscles, but when you're strutting this hard, it starts to feel more like pick-me than pedigree. Now, they do have solid practical xenomorphs in this movie. They look great, and I commend Fede for his commitment to the classic tradition of practical effects. However, the effects crew also relies on computer-generated aliens. These CGI xenomorphs lack the tactile satisfaction to feel like anything other than an arcade game, especially when our protagonist is blasting one after the other as they come barreling down the hallway at her. Oh, and what about the alien's tail that's a death spear in every other scene? But when the heroine needs to live, that death spear suddenly turns into a non-lethal lasso. Are we really supposed to buy that? I mean, if the threat can be neutered this easily, what's left to actually fear? So, where does that leave us? To Disney's credit, Romulus in many ways nails the feel of an alien movie. The sets, the lighting, the score, it all hums with retro dread. The performances by Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson deserve recognition, and Fede Alvarez clearly did his homework. He obviously wants to honor the lore, and he tried. But back to that first question, is this the first step in Disney ruining yet another classic franchise? Maybe not ruined, but Romulus shows how easy it is to let homage curdle into copy, and how fast respect can slide into ripoff. And if this is Disney's idea of Alien's new future, then yeah, maybe the acid blood is already starting to eat through the hull.